This semester, I'm teaching a class called Rhetoric and Civic Life, which is a 2-semester first-year honors class in both writing and speaking. And one of the things that I've really liked about this class is that it's given me the opportunity to experiment with digital technologies in my teaching. So my students performed a live TED Talk with multimedia background. They did a podcast. They did multimedia videos. And the thing that is continuing through the whole semester is this idea of blogging every week. And so on these weekly blogs, my students keep one blog that is for their works in progress that we use for peer review. They keep one blog that's on a civic issue of their choice, and then they keep a blog on their passion. And the civic issues blogs have been fascinating. This semester, my students have talked about everything from fracking and nuclear energy to women in the workforce and diversity on campus. And they've really done a lot of in-depth research, looked at contemporary media events, and started conversations among their peers about these issues. And the passion blogs are equally interesting. They range from things like celebrity gossip and weekly quotes from The Bachelor to passions that have to do with students' scholarly interests. So I have one student who's preparing to go to Spain to study abroad, and she's devoting each post weekly to a different cultural aspect of Spain, like their music or dancing or food, to prepare her for her trip. And then I have another student whose hobby is to do astronomy photography, and so he's featuring his photography on his blog and answering questions like why do stars twinkle and how we're going to find alien life. So these blogs are really fascinating, and they're fun to read, and I think they're fun for the students to write, and the blogs give them a lot of writing practice in a way that is informal and interesting to them. And I think in terms of a writing classroom, they've been really valuable to me to help me teach students how to think about audience and how to think about writing for an audience and writing for a public in a way that it's hard to do in other media and other types of written work. So the students really have to think about what it means to write for an audience and how they can engage that audience, which asks them to think about questions of not just what they're writing, but how they're writing it, so writing style, and questions of design too, so what their blog looks like and whether they incorporate video clips or photos or graphs and those kinds of things. And it also asks them to think about how to both encourage and provide thoughtful and responsive feedback in an online environment. And I think that's really important as more and more of our public deliberations happen in an online context. My students are getting practice both thinking about how to write a post in a way that encourages that kind of interaction, and then because weekly commenting on each other's posts is part of these blogging assignments, they get some practice thinking about how to debate in a public forum that's also online. We've had some really interesting debates about things like St. Patty's Day, things about same-sex education, and the students really get to learn how to navigate both their own views and each other's views in a way that I think enriches their understanding of the topics that they're writing about. And for me as a teacher, my favorite thing about it is that I get to learn a lot from my students. All of my students are experts in something that they're interested in, and it's been really neat for me to get to learn about their interests and learn from them as they work on their blogs. I think the most important thing is to give, the way that this course is set up is they have some time for commenting in class, and I think that the commenting is the really important part. I think if the blogging happens as just an assignment and it happens in a vacuum, the students don't get the full effect of writing for an audience and then thinking about how to respond to each other. So I think setting aside time for commenting and really placing a value on that commenting and talking about what makes a good blog comment is an important part of that.
Okay.